and you won't grow.
Yeah.
There's a guy I went to college with, and his name is Blake Corman.
Mm.
Super cool guy, very intellectual. Um, and he doesn't change the way he talks around anybody.
Yeah.
His vernacular is expansive.
Impeccable.
Right? It's nuts. Like you could feel small around
Yeah.
him if you don't go learn something.
Yeah.
Right. So I remember when we were just having a small conversation, he's just gotten to talking and he was speaking a language I wasn't familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I got used to saying that, oh, that makes sense. Oh,
Mm.
that's good.
Mm.
But I wasn't really giving much of the
Mm.
conversation because I didn't know how to connect to him.
Mm-hmm.
And that pushed me to go get the vocabulary app on my phone. That pushed me to go get a thesaurus. That pushed me to learn more words because I was just like, I don't want to feel intimidated in these spaces.
Absolutely.
I don't want to feel like I don't know anything that this brother just said, so I need to fake the funk and act like I did. No, I'm about to go learn some words. I'm about to go educate myself. I'm about to go become more knowledgeable so I can add more value to these conversations.
Yes.
And that's something that everybody should strive to do.
That's good. That's good. I want to hear your point number 2.
Absolutely. So, why men need to go to therapy? Men need therapy because it's going to teach you boundaries,
Hmm.
right? When we think about boundaries, I always give this example. Think about a house, and you think about a fence around that house.
Yeah.
One thing a fence is going to do is going to keep certain things in, and it's going to keep certain things out.
Yeah.
That's what your boundaries are going to do for you. But without boundaries, because like I said, let's just say you grew up in a home and everybody was very intrusive, right? Mom never knocked on the door. Dad never knocked on the door. They just came in.
Mm.
When you was taking a shower, they just came in.
Mm-hmm.
When you was in the bathroom, you was in the bath. Hey, they opened the door. Hey, pass me the tissue,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
Like there is no boundaries.
Yeah.
When it's time for you to finally get a phone and your parents want to go through your phone, they just gonna pick your phone up and go through it.
Yep.
They gonna look through your pictures. They gonna read your text messages.
Yep.
Hell, they may read your text messages out loud.
Mm-hmm.
So when you grow up in those type of situations, you're like, damn, I don't have no privacy in my room. I don't have no privacy with my phone. I don't have no privacy when I'm sleeping. I don't have no boundaries when it comes to people wearing my clothes. So you believe that you have access to everything,
Yeah.
right? You believe that what's mine is always yours. You believe that you just have this entitlement mentality. So I became a person that jumped into relationships without opening up doors without knocking,
Hmm.
right? Going through phones without asking,
Hmm.
right? Taking stuff without asking. And that's because I didn't have any boundaries.
Yeah.
And then you finally come across somebody that tell you no. You're like,
Hmm.
what you mean no?
Hmm.
What when you don't have boundaries, you're not used to hearing the word no. When you don't have boundaries, you're not used to people asking you for permission, right? What does that lead to? Asking for consent,
Hmm.
right? If you don't have boundaries, you believe that it's yours already.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with women, you believe that you deserve what they have, not knowing that no, you don't deserve nothing but what you give yourself,
Yeah.
right? So men need to go to therapy because it's going to teach you boundaries. Now let's talk about a couple different boundaries. The very first one is going to be about boundaries around your mental and emotional self, and that is understanding your capacity. Right? If I know I've had a long day, and I had to tell my lady this all the time, if I have about 5 to 7 sessions in a day, that means I've been thinking all day.
Yeah.
I've been talking all day, and I'm tired now. So I tell my lady, listen, when I get home, yes, I want to connect, but for that first hour, I just want to be silent
Yeah.
because I've talked so much today. I've used so many words.
Yeah.
My brain is tired.
Yeah.
My body is tired. So my boundary around that is that first hour. If we are to connect, I don't mind laying on the couch. I don't mind sitting up beside each other, but I just need to decompress
Yeah.
and be relaxed.
Yeah.
Right. So that's around mental, emotional. Then you have boundaries that are physical boundaries. I don't want to be touched.
Hmm.
Right. There's certain family members that'll come up, grab you, kiss you, hug you, this, do that. But it's okay to tell people, hey, I'm not a hugger.
Yeah.
Right? It's okay for people to not be in your space, but without having those boundaries, you don't know how to ask for that without being aggressive.
Yeah.
Right? Then you have boundaries around your environments. There's certain places I know I can't go. There's certain places I know I shouldn't be. There's certain places that just aren't conducive for my growth and my development. But if I don't have boundaries on those places, then it's never going to make sense. So, for perfect example, if I've lived a lustful life, I know for a fact I shouldn't be in a strip club.
Mm-hmm.
I know for a fact I shouldn't be at the club after a certain time without my lady.
Mm-hmm.
I know for a fact I shouldn't be on a trip that's predominantly all women and my lady not there.
Mm-hmm.
I just know for a fact, like if I'm going to be doing something, it has to be in alignment with what my values are, in alignment with what makes me remain committed and faithful to my relationship, and in alignment with what God wants for me. So
Absolutely.
that's environmentally. And then lastly, boundaries around time,
Hmm.
right? One thing that I have been doing, one thing I've been working through for the month of April is being okay with not allowing people to have that much access to me,
Hmm.
right? So what I'll do is I typically will answer everybody's phone call.
Hmm.
If you need me, for majority of times I know who's calling me that's going to need for me to pour into them. I'll pick up the call. I could have 5% of my own battery left and I'm gonna pick up the call. I could be getting ready to lay down or getting ready to take a shower, getting ready to do something with my lady, and I get somebody, hey Rex, can you talk? But yeah, what's up? But I realized I was taking so much away from myself, taking so much away from my partner, because I didn't have boundaries around my time. So what that will look like in real time is I don't accept calls after 8 o'clock,
Hmm.
right? I don't accept calls before 9 a.m.,
Hmm.
right? Unless somebody I have an appointment with. And even when it comes to shutting things down for the night, turning my phone off, or just allowing, like for example, when me and my lady was in our talking phase, she was like, you mind if I come over? And I say, "Well, not after this time,
Yeah.
because I'm gonna be asleep.
Yeah.
It won't be a productive." So those are just a few boundaries that are necessary, but you won't learn those until you go to therapy and get the language of it.
That's good. That's good because I think all that comes back to a lot of root sources, like you already mentioned. That's why that therapy is so important because people may say, well, you can get that without therapy. Not if you don't know why you don't do it.
Right.
Like the reason why you don't set boundaries, you need to go deep and realize why.
Yep.
And I think ultimately the big thing about therapy, you know what? No, I'm gonna save that part because that's one of my points coming up. But just in general, you when you go to therapy, and you lay out your struggles on the table, you have somebody across from you that's able to sit there and say, all right, let's dive into these one by one
Yep. Pick through them.
and pick through each one until we get down to the root. And then we develop a new pathway.
Yep.
And then from there, you have a choice.
Yep.
You can't forget
Yep.
what has happened.
Nope.
I think that we have to change certain language. And we've said this on the podcast before in the past, but we don't say it often no more. But there is no unlearning. You don't unlearn. You just learn a new way and then you choose to operate in that new
That's
pathway.
good.
And I think we have to change the language because I found myself saying unlearning. And it's like, well, if you unlearn something, that means you forget it. That means you forget how to do it completely. If it were to come around to you again, it'd be so foreign, you wouldn't even recognize it.
Yep.
I don't know a single thing about my past stuff that I wouldn't recognize when it came around. Oh, I'm going to recognize it, but I'm choosing. I have the strength, I have the knowledge, I have the resources, the language, the boundaries, the power now to sit here and say, I will not choose this particular way of behavior that I used to take.
Yep.
You know what it feels like when that call comes in after that time. And you have to sit there and say to yourself, all right, I'm stuck in a crossroads right now.
Yep.
Because them 20 seconds that phone is ringing, I know that certain people that are calling your phone, you have to sit there and look at it. You have to contemplate to yourself, do I really want to take this call? Do I think it's important? No, Rex, remember what you said. You need to set the boundary. And this person you need to set a boundary with because you know they'll call you in the middle of the night.
Yep.
You won't even have no energy in the morning just because they're going through something. Like they can hit you in the morning.
Yep.
Like you don't unlearn, but you get a different pathway, a different way of doing things, and you can choose a different route. And you can only get that if you go to therapy where you can then have somebody help you and walk you through what that new route looks like.
That's good. That's real good. What you got for your next point, B Dog?
Man, my point number 3. Another reason why men need therapy is because it's the one space a man can have where he can be heard without unwarranted responses, where he can speak his mind without the fear of judgment,
Yep.
and where somebody is literally there to listen. Their objective, their primary objective, before they can do anything else that they want to do, is to listen. And men don't get that in many places in life,
Yep.
if any places. Because even with a great partner, the things that you say will make them feel a type of way, right? You spoke on this in the last episode where, your lady will ask you a question. And, the whole point of you asking a question, you about to listen to my response.
Yep.
But then you give a response that she's not expecting.
Yeah.
And now it's, oh, I wasn't expecting you to say that. this is that. Now you're having a whole conversation about how that made her feel and why she's, when it's like, dang, why did you ask?
Yep.
Right? If you didn't want to hear my truth. Therapy, you don't have that. Your therapist is not going to take what you say personal.
Yep.
They are trained and prepared for you to say anything and everything, and to be able to sit there and receive that, not take it personally, and dissect what needs to go, what needs to happen from that moment forward.
Yep.
Unwarranted responses, right? One of the big things that irks every man is when they're trying to express something, somebody gets triggered and they interrupt them.
Mm.
Right?
Yep.
That is one of my biggest pet peeves.
Yep.
Please don't interrupt me. Please don't interrupt me, because
Definitely
I
advantage.
don't have enough patience, and that's something that I'm working on, is patience and grace. But I don't have enough patience and grace right now for the way that that makes me feel, for it not to trigger me, and now I'm mad. Now I'm pissed off. Now I don't want to talk at all. I want to completely shut down, leave me be. Because I'm trying to express my thoughts and my feelings about something, and you think that it's so important for you to get your words out because of how it made you feel, that you got to cut me off? I can't have my moment. Men don't have a lot of opportunities on a day-to-day basis to have their moment, right? And having a therapist presents a space where you can go, where the moment is completely yours,
Yeah.
right? It is all about you. And that person is there to be a receiver. And then once the time is ready, and it's time to present something to you, create an environment where you can be given something to then have a conversation about, to grow on, to think and ponder on, and go forward. Men don't have that in their life, and that is a space when you have therapy where you can be heard without unwarranted opinions, and where you can speak without the fear of judgment.
Man, that's good. And it's like one of the only spaces that you truly have, unless you're in a very healthy relationship,
Yeah.
that teaches you what it feels like to be understood
Yeah.
completely.
Yeah.
As a therapist, when I sit on my side of the couch and I have my clipboard and I'm taking my notes and I'm just listening, my focus is to understand why they think what they think, what makes them who they are, what's keeping them stuck, what's underneath what they just said. I'm trying to discern. So I'm trying to see what's underneath. I'm trying to see what you're holding back. I'm trying to see what's stopping you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing all these different type of things. So I'm asking question after question after question after question. And oftentimes I get this from my clients. They say, nobody's ever asked me that.
Yep.
Nobody's ever cared enough.
Yeah.
I don't have anybody that pays attention to me the way you pay attention to me.
Mm,
I don't have anybody that ever listens to me the way you listen. I don't necessarily feel safe talking to anybody else because they take everything that I say and they make it about them.
mm-hmm.
Right. So therapy teaches you what it feels like to be understood. It teaches you what it feels like and what it looks like for somebody to actively listen, for somebody to be radically curious, for somebody to ask you questions, to go deeper in your own thought, to make you come up with your own answers. Because sometimes we don't need solutions. We just need somebody to pull something out of us that was already in us, but
Yeah.
we just need the language for it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's exactly what it's going to do. And it's a beautiful thing to watch it happen. Just like you said, your therapist asked you, why do you hate Jacob so much?
Mm-hmm.
Who told you that you talk too much?
Mm-hmm.
Why does that matter to you?
Mm-hmm.
I say that all the time to my clients. Why does that matter to you? And the reason why that is so important is because the exercise that I did when I was going through trauma, when I was going through trauma, and um, I read this workbook and it said, you ask yourself, why does that matter until you can't come up with anything else? And when you can't come up with anything else, that root cause is the reason why it truly matters.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't like to do the work to get to the root cause.
Facts.
So that's a good point, brother.
You said the word. I was thinking about this. You said it. The beauty about the relationship between a man and his therapist is it would be the one place where the person is not sitting there asking, what's the implication of your actions and behaviors on me?
Yeah.
Everybody else, even in a healthy relationship, at some point that person is thinking in their mind, well, if you don't fix this, how that going to affect me?
Yeah.
If you thinking this way, how that going to play out in our relationship?
Yep.
And I'm not saying that that's wrong, because when you're connected to people in that way, you're married, you're dating, you have children, whatever, like, yeah, your actions do impact other people, but your actions don't impact your therapist. That's
Yep.
the difference. Your therapist is there to do a job. Your therapist is there, and at the end of the day, whether you take that advice and you run with it and do the right thing, or you don't, their life is moving on. And I need people to understand that I don't mean that in a bad way. Your therapist does care about you. Your therapist does want to see you win. Your therapist does rejoice in your growth. Absolutely. But at the same time, your therapist does not take your struggles as then a personal indication and implication on their life, because that's not the relationship that you guys have. If you act crazy with people, that's not their concern at the end of the day. They're gonna go home to their wife and their kids. But your girlfriend and you have a crazy acting behavior, that affects her. Your children, that affects them. Your friends, that affects them. It doesn't impact your therapist. And so they can be a great example. They can be the place that you can go and you can be completely yourself. Because you don't have to sit there and sugarcoat it. Man, you know what? I'm pissed. I don't like it when this person does this. I can't stand it when that happens. I don't like myself when I'm going through these particular areas. And then they can get you down to that root cause. And then you realize that the root cause is because, well, I'm afraid. I'm afraid that if I don't address things early, this is literally one of mine, that if I don't address things early and often in my relationship, even when it's small, I'm afraid that it's going to be the thing that destroys our relationship. And then I'm going to be lonely.
Yep.
I'm going to be a failure. I'm going to be the man that couldn't keep his marriage together and lost it all. Now you done got down to why you do the things that you do. You don't do those things just because you want to see her grow. You don't do those things just because you want your relationship. No, you do them because of your fear of failure and the consequences that you believe will come with it.
Yep.
So, that's a powerful thing to have, bro.
It's good.
What's your point number 2? Or
Point
point number
number
3?
3. Yeah,
Yeah.
point number 3, man. Men need therapy to learn how to communicate. Right?
Yeah.
I remember growing up, everything goes back, right, to
Mhm.
childhood. Um, the people that I grew up around wasn't the best communicators.
Yeah.
They could communicate a decent amount when
Mhm.
everything was good,
Mhm.
but the minute things went left, communication went out the window,
Yeah.
right? There was no trying to understand. There was no trying to look for solutions. It was just a huge blow up.
Yeah.
So I took that and I applied it to my life.
Mhm.
When conflict arises in my relationships, it was just a blow up.
Mm.
I never knew how to communicate my feelings, so just a blow up.
Yeah.
Um, I was on a plane one time and I was listening to a podcast, and a lady said, "Whatever your words doesn't express, your body will."
Hmm.
That's exactly what happened. My body expressed every emotion that I felt.
Hmm.
I just didn't have the language for it,
Yeah.
right? So we go into relationship after relationship, and they're being asked, "Rex, what are you feeling? Rex, what do you need?" And Rex, where's your head at? I'm straight. I'm good.
Mhm.
Oh, it's nothing.
Mhm.
Or if I was expressing myself, it was just, I'm okay. I'm pissed off. I'm angry, or I'm happy. Those are the main things I knew,
That's it.
right? That was it. So therapy is important because you need to learn how to communicate your needs,
Mhm.
right? This is what I'm needing from you.
Hmm.
It's going to help you communicate your expectations.
Yeah.
A lot of times we have expectations that are unspoken. I'm going around um, with I'm going around with this mindset of, this is what my partner's supposed to be doing for me. This is what my boss is supposed to be doing for me. This is what people are supposed to show, how they're supposed to show for me. But I'm not speaking on these expectations. So learning how to communicate helps you with speaking on your expectations. It helps you learn how to speak on your feelings and emotions, and also talks about your boundaries, talks about your desires, and talks about the direction that you see yourself going in,
Yeah.
right? In the midst of conflict, can you communicate what you're feeling? Can you communicate what you're needing? Can you communicate what I did to make you feel a certain way?
Yeah.
And if you don't have that language, then it's important that you go to therapy to get it. And one of the biggest tools that I give my clients all the time, it's just that I feel blank
Mhm.
when you blank, and this
Mhm.
is what I need. And I
Mhm.
make it so simple for them. I tell the husband, you write yours down, and I tell the wife, you write down anything you heard him say.
That's good.
When he gets through talking, you repeat back to him what you heard him say until he confirms that that's what that was, and then you respond to it.
That's good.
So it helps you learn how to communicate. And now that I've been in therapy, that am a therapist, that I've done a lot of the work when it comes to group therapy, group coaching, all of those different type of things, I now have the language that I need to show up for my wife. I have the language I need to show for my parents. Have the language that I need to show for my clients, and I have the language I need to show for the people that God has assigned me to be around.
That's good, bro. Man, I'm trying to find these messages that I had between me and my girlfriend, because it's such a perfect example of what you're talking about with like communicating. But long story short, as I'm trying to search for him, there was some circumstance where she was talking to me about something that, okay, I found it. We were talking about like jobs and different things that I'm looking to do as like work for the summer.
Hmm.
And I keep telling her like what I really want to do and what I don't want to do. She's like, bro, I really think you need to be looking in some of these other areas instead. I think these are better opportunities. And I'm getting frustrated by it. And so I'm starting to get short
Yep.
in the conversation. I'm like, I got it, Diamond. I'm good. Okay. I receive it. Like I'm just saying that stuff. Um, and I'm getting short with her. And she says something. She was just like, why are you catching the attitude? In the past, I would have responded with a whole bunch of different stuff. Maybe told her about herself, right? Because you keep doing this and I told you this, right? Or I would have, just went about it in a way that didn't get down to what the root was. But in therapy, my therapist, I keep telling him I'm trying to work on patience and grace. Um, and he's just telling me like we need to get down to the root as to why you get so ticked off by things that you resort to certain ways of expressing them that aren't healthy, and then you have to regret them later on. And so I'm remembering the conversations that we've had in therapy, and when she sent that, why are you catching an attitude? I took a second, I took a breath, and I said, okay, remember the lessons that we're learning about patience and grace. Remember the things that your therapist has told you about. This is an opportunity to dive deep. What are you feeling right now? And this is something that Rex, you said that you've done with your clients before. Is like, where do you feel that at?
Yeah. Where
Like,
you feel it at? Yeah.
what's going on with you right now? And I sat there and I just sat there and I thought about it for a while. I'm like, what are you feeling? I'm like, I feel frustrated. And I'm like, okay, well, what do you feel frustrated by? Like, why are you mad at her? Did she do something? Like, no, she's just trying to help me. She's giving me good advice. Is what she's saying valuable? Yes, it's valuable. Okay, so then is it on her? No. Is she delivering it rude? No. Okay, so the problem's within you. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm having this whole monologue with myself. And it's like, okay, you're frustrated. That's the emotion that you're feeling right now. You know she does not deserve it. And you're frustrated by what? And then I had to get down to the root. And I'm just like, well, I just feel like financially, I don't want to be in this situation no more. I'm just tired of it. And having these conversations about it is annoying to me because
Yep.
I want to be in a place financially where I don't even have to think about this stuff.
Yep.
That don't have nothing to do with her. And so I responded to her and I said, I'm sorry, I'm just a little frustrated.
Yep.
You don't deserve that. And I kept it at that and she received that. And she's like, I understand, babe. And she sent me a long message that, not really necessarily her apology, because she didn't have nothing to apologize for, but just making sure that I knew she was coming from a helpful place.
Yep.
And then saying and uplifting me and empowering me. And it made me feel much better in general. And it saved us from an argument. Because of therapy, I was able to communicate what I felt rather than expressing and acting what I felt.
Yep.
When you don't go to therapy, you act what you feel
Yep.
rather than expressing, communicating what you feel. I could have acted frustrated and that would have caused an argument. I would have been the one that caused that argument, but I would have been sitting there saying, you caused the argument because you keep on telling me this stuff and I've been told you I didn't want to do this.
Yeah.
No, she just trying to help and give you some advice. But because of where it's hitting you, and you feel vulnerable and you don't feel secure, that second level of your needs doesn't feel like it's being met personally. Any conversation around it is very frustrating, and you don't want to have long conversations that get a little uncomfortable in that area. So you guard up and you get frustrated and you get upset and you get angry. I wouldn't have been able to do that and communicate that if I didn't have these conversations with my therapist.
Man, God is good.
Absolutely,
The
all the
proof is in
time.
the pudding, man. Like I said, we're not going to have a conversation about things that we aren't actively doing.
At all.
We are actively pursuing therapy. We are actively
Yes.
pursuing healing. We're actively trying to become better communicators, actively trying to become more empathetic. Because if we can't, how can we talk to y'all about it?
At all.
So that's amazing.
Sitting here as hypocrites.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, y'all. Like, I want to make this clear. You're talking to two guys. This channel is run by two guys who go to therapy, a therapist himself. Even the therapist goes to get therapy. I want y'all to think about that. Nobody is above this. Even people who are completely in tune with their mind have done all the books and all that. Everybody need therapy, but that's for my next point. Actually, is it my next point or is it your next
I
point?
think it's mine.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Why do men need therapy? Because it's going to expose your blind spots,
Yeah.
right? It's going to expose your blind spots. Couple things that I picked up in therapy is that Rex, you try to save everybody,
Mm,
right? You try to carry everybody's weight. You take blame for if people succeed or if they fail, right? Um, you're holding on to past childhood wounds for way too long. You don't like to forgive people,
mm,
right? You like to say that you forgive people, but when the actions finally show up, there's not a lot of forgiveness.
yeah.
Um, you're so solution focused that you don't allow other people to come up with their own solutions, right? Learning that. Rex, you're anxious because those are times that you needed certain things as a kid, um, that you never got. So now you're fearful of not being able to receive them in your relationships, or you're fearful of certain environments because you're still traumatized from that time that this happened to you,
Yeah.
right? So I'm learning my blind spots. I'm learning my blind spots. Rex, when you were dating, while you were in the world, you're only looking for what looked good,
Yeah.
right? You're very superficial when it comes to dating. I'm learning my blind spots. Therapy is going to teach you your blind spots. There's going to be a lot of men out there, you overcompensate for what your parents can do. There's a lot of men out there, your value is in your pockets and not in who you are as a
Mm,
person. There's a lot of men out there that believe that you can't date because you're not in the best position.
mm-hmm.
There's a lot of men out there that believe that you're broken, that you can't be fixed, that you can't be healed, that you can't forgive. There's going to be a lot of men out there that like to date children,
Mm,
right? Whether it's because something happened to you because you were exposed to something, or you really have something going on inside of you internally, psychologically, that needs to be corrected, that needs to be addressed by medication, right? It's going to help you identify your blind spots. It's going to help you understand why you have an issue with being corrected. It's going to help you understand why you have an issue with authority.
mm,
It's going to help you understand why you may be attracted to older women,
mm,
right? It's going to help you understand yourself on a deeper level, especially if you have a good therapy. It's going to help you understand why you don't feel safe around your own people. It's going to help you understand why you don't feel connected to your family, right? Or it's going to help you understand why your family is the reason why you can't be successful,
mm.
right? It's going to help you understand why you emotionally spend. And now, even though you make more money, it feels like you don't make enough because you're putting it in the wrong spaces. It's going to help you identify your blind spots.
And you know, the thing about a blind spot is you don't know what's sitting there until you're exposed to it.
Yep.
And you will be driving thinking that the problem is something totally different the whole time,
Yep.
right? So you said something and it made me think when you talked about men that like to date like younger people, children, all this different type of stuff. It brought me back to porn.
Mm,
Immediately it brought me back to porn. Because to your point, a lot of times this stuff happens because of people who were molested as children themselves. Um, but also a big reason why I believe people pursue younger men pursue younger girls and younger boys is because of things that they see in pornography.
yeah.
I want y'all to think about something. When you go on porn sites, they will make an emphasis on the fact that this person is a teenager,
Yep.
just turned 18. They'll have them in pigtails.
Yep.
They'll try to make them look as childish as they can be. These women don't even talk that way in real life, but
Yep.
they'll make their voice high pitched and really childish. The conversation will be that of like a father and a 15-year-old, and they'll just say the person's 18. Not to mention how many times there's actually children in those
Yep.
videos that are lying about their age, or the agencies lie about their age. Like there's just all kinds of sick, twisted stuff going on in these videos.
Yep.
But you see, you'll walk around thinking that because you go to a high school function to celebrate your cousin or something, and you sitting there and in your mind is getting triggered and you feel attracted to some of these girls. And you like, well, where is that coming from?
Yep.
Now you think that you're just sick because you just sick and twisted. Nah, brother, it's a reason for that. Your blind spot. But if you don't go to therapy, you'll never realize that the pornography that you watch is the reason why you sexualize them little girls.
Yep.
You'll never get down to the deep root of the fact that, oh, when you know, got touched by your cousin when you were 7 years old, yeah, that arrested your development.
Yep.
And immediately from that point, you sought because of where you were when you got touched. Now you have an affinity for that in yourself.
Yep.
You'll never be exposed to it. You see, y'all don't want to have these conversations. It's going to be people in these comments that are going to say a lot of wild stuff.
Yep.
It's going to be people in these comments that right now, as they're reading this, they're going to feel exposed themselves. It's going to be people that are going to be very thankful that we're having this conversation. I can't remember who it was, but somebody said the thing that got me about y'all page is that y'all talk about the things that we kind of know go on, but nobody ever speaks on. We ain't afraid to call it out.
Yep.
Okay. And it's because we're not perfect ourselves. So I'm not judging you because of where you at. I'm not judging you because you have your problems. I'm judging you if you know you have the issue. And I'm not even saying this, let me be careful. I'm not judging you at all. I'm holding you accountable to the fact that now that we're having the conversation and you come across it, and I'm telling you, and you heard Rex just bring up all these things. If you know you got hit in any of those areas and you choose not to go seek help now you're responsible.
Yep.
Now you are truly culpable. Now you are truly in a place of accountability because now you can't say it's a blind spot. He
Yep.
just told you, go get help.
Go get it.
Go get help. But if you choose to hear what was just said today and you come up with every excuse as to why it don't apply, if you come up with every excuse as to why, oh, I can just read the books, I can just watch the videos, I can just do all this stuff, instead of going and sitting in front of a professional and getting the help you need, you are responsible for the consequences of your actions.
100%. And I'm gonna bring up something else that's a blind spot that not many people know about. Jay Stringer wrote about this in his book called Unwanted. Right? Kind of breaking the barriers of your unwanted sexual behaviors. And he have this section called unconscious arousal. Right? So let me give you an example to make it come around full circle. There's a young man that has he's an older man now, in his 60. Addiction to watching porn. And I always ask my clients, what does your porn history say about you?
That's a question, boy. Looking back.
Yeah, what does it say about you? And he, amongst all the things that he said, one thing that stood out, he said, one of my searches is voyeurism. Voyeuristic, meaning he likes to be in the cut and watch people do things to themselves, or watch women go to the bathroom, or watch women be on the beach and laying on the blankets. He's a watcher, right? And I'm getting asked him about his childhood. So tell me a little bit more about your childhood, man. What did you do for leisure time? And he was like, well, I spent a lot of time with my dad, but my dad didn't really allow for us to spend too much time with him until we were mature. But when we became mature, he used to let us go hunting with him. And we used to sit up in this tree, and for hours he used to watch hogs and watch all these things go by. And he was just like, my dad finally trusted me with the gun and trusted me with the ability to shoot. And I remember the feeling that I got when I had my eyes on something for 30 to 45 minutes, and I finally got my first kill. Rex, it made me feel amazing. Rex, it gave me a sense of excitement. In other words, Rex, it made me feel aroused.
Yeah. Wow.
Right? Unconsciously, right? I'm watching something that I'm waiting to kill. I'm watching something that I'm waiting to have. I'm watching something that I want that's mine.
Yeah.
Right? Then that takes you into your adulthood. You don't never address the unconscious arousal. So now your history, when it comes to watching your pornography, leads back to you watching people.
Dude.
That's a blind spot.
And it's crazy because sometimes the blind spots don't even come from trauma.
Yep.
Sometimes it's associated with something that was an extreme high moment in your life, and you want to relive that moment over and over and over again, but you seek it out in unhealthy ways.
And let me give you one more example. There's a young man that said, Rex, I noticed that my porn history talks shows me that I like watching massages and women being oiled up. And you know me, let's go back to childhood.
Yeah.
And he was like, when I was a kid, my mom used to lotion herself down in front of us. Right? Not thinking much of it. We kids.
Yeah.
Right? Whether we take a bath with her, It was nothing ever sexual,
Yeah.
or we may be sitting in her bed watching TV, but she's standing in front of the mirror and she's oiling herself down
Yeah.
unconsciously.
Yeah.
That's interesting to me.
Yeah.
I'm looking at her body. I'm watching everything that she's doing, and you find that there's something that you like. So now that you're an adult and your porn history teaches you that when it comes to oil, when it comes to massages, when it comes to women and that's what I gravitate towards, but I
Yeah.
don't know why.
Yeah.
Unconscious arousal, going back to childhood. So everything always comes back around full
It's
circle.
always full
That's a
circle.
blind spot.
Dang, man, that was a powerful point. That
Yeah.
was a really good point.
Yeah.
I love that.
What you got, brother?
All right, my last point. Going to therapy challenges you to grow yourself mentally. It's your mental gym,
Mm.
right? And what I mean by that is this. Look, I know a lot of us want to skip out on therapy as men by saying that we have other things in our life that substitute it, but that is not true. I'm going to make this clear. The gym is therapeutic. It is not therapy.
Yep.
Okay. Uh Meditating, yoga, all that stuff is therapeutic. It is not therapy.
Yep.
Books are therapeutic. They are not therapy.
Yep.
Music, massages, all those things may be therapeutic. They are not therapy. There is a difference. And the main difference is in all those areas, you are kept within you and yourself, your own thoughts. When you're at the gym and you're pumping iron, like it's you going through your thoughts. When you're reading a book, you're reading these pages and then you interpret it by your interpretation and your thoughts. When you're listening to music and you're meditating, you're interpreting things through you and your thoughts.
Yep.
There is not an active participant on the other end that is hearing your thoughts, placing your thoughts back in front of you, and then aligning them with what you said you want in life and making you see the differences. Like he said about blind spots, like you cannot see past your blind spots. Somebody has to point them out to you.
Yep.
Like when somebody is driving when you're driving in your car and somebody pulls up in that blind spot on your side, you don't know they're there. The only way you can see somebody is in your blind spot is if for a second you take a glance out
Yep.
your side mirror. Because your side mirror is not going to show you, but you got to look literally out your passenger mirror to see if they're there.
Yep.
So imagine that. You can't do that with your own thoughts. You think that you're seeing everything around you. You think that you understand yourself and that you're so deep in thought and that you don't need therapy. I don't need to go sit in front of nobody. I read all these books. That's my therapy. Until you keep having the same repeated behaviors that don't get you nowhere.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like I've had these conversations with my boys, and the main conversation that almost always comes up with men is like faithfulness,
Yep.
right? And genuinely believing that you don't have the ability to be faithful, that a man just ain't supposed to be faithful. Well, why is that? My daddy wasn't faithful. My brothers weren't faithful. This, that, and that. You find out the root causes of them things. But when they're left to themselves, what it all comes back down to is at the end of the day, I'm a man.
Yep.
And a man got his needs. And can't no one woman fulfill a man like me. I'm this, I'm that. Like, that's just natural. But when you have to sit in front of somebody else and you tell them those thoughts and they can challenge you on them because they're prepared for that conversation. They've either been through it themselves, they're well read, they're studied, they've seen it in other people before. That's your therapist's role. They can challenge you. That is your mental gym. If you go to the gym and you load up weights that you can throw around easy, you'll never grow. But when something is put in front of you that's uncomfortable, that really stretches you and stresses you, that produces growth. Your therapist is going to put you in a place where mentally you are stretched, bro. You are going to be pushed. And that is going to lead to your growth mentally to change your behavior in the real world. So if you don't go to therapy, you're not actually exercising your mind the way you think you are. All those other things, they give you some growth, but they all max out at a certain point because you are limited to you and your own understanding. A therapist is like that extra plate. They're like that trainer that comes into the equation and says, bro, I know you skipping out.
Yep.
I'm about to push you harder than you've ever been pushed before. If you really claim that you want to get to this goal, and that's what a therapist points in front of you. They sit there, and I've had my therapist do it to me before. They have quite literally said, I thought you said you said you wanted to, you said, not me. You said you wanted to be faithful. But you're telling me that when you go to the gym, you will sit there and you'll ponder on the women that walk by and consume yourself in thoughts of different things. You're not arresting those thoughts. You're not
Make it.
capturing them. You're not telling yourself to stop thinking about this stuff. You sit here and you talking about the fact that they, got their booty shorts all crunched up and stuff like that, but you like it.
Yep.
and it's
Love it.
being exposed to me. He's challenging me. He's adding that extra weight to make me push harder to know that, yo, if you really want to get here, the behaviors that you have are in the way.
Yeah. Man, that's amazing. And as a therapist, I'm gonna let y'all know I am that guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to challenge you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really love your wife for real.
Come on. Rex, you said that. Hey, talk about it, bro.
You know what I'm saying? I had a brother, it was like, yo, Rex, man, I'm going through a situation. And I had to tell him, you don't really love your wife for real. He said, Rex, what you mean, bro? I'm like, I hear what you say, but what your actions saying though? Your actions are completely different. There's no empathy. There's no emotion. There's no sacrifice. You want what's comfortable. You don't want to see her or nobody else. But you don't love that woman for real. You don't want to fight for your marriage for real. You ain't trying to be a faithful, committed husband for real. And I tell people all the time, I'm not here to hold your hand. I'm not here to feed your ego. I'm not here to tell you lies. I'm not here to make you believe something that ain't true. I'm here to help you see your blind spots. I'm here to help you bring the other person outside of you. I'm here to help you cut the BS. What you really want?
Yeah.
What's really in your way? What's really stopping you? Why haven't you done the homework? You know what I'm saying? Why haven't you done the homework? Do you really want to grow? Why are we having the same conversation for the last month? Right. And I remember one time, this was very powerful, right? Had a brother come in, yo, Rex, man, my wife is getting ready to leave. She says, I'm not making the amount of money. I'm not showing up. I'm not doing my job. I recently just lost a job. I said, okay, cool. What you gonna do about it? And we swapping it out. And he say, well, I'm about to start applying to things. I said, you got a car, right? He said, yeah. I said, you got insurance, right? He said, yeah. I said, do me a favor, download Uber. Go ahead, get you in the meantime, go ahead, get some deliveries in, or either go start picking some people up. He said, okay, bet I'm gonna do that. So for the next 3 weeks, he'll come in. Hey, how's it going? Oh, it's going good. I really haven't solidified a job yet, but I have been Uber. I said, okay, that's solid. How much you been making? He said, it hasn't been too much, but I have been enough to contribute to my portion of the bills. I said, man, that's solid. Something in my spirit though said, ask him a deeper question. So I said, hey man, just like week 4, I said, do me a favor, show me your Uber account. He said, he said, why you need that? I said, let me see that account real quick.
He's on real quick.
I go to his account and I go to his hours. In the last 4 weeks, he drove 2 hours.
What are we doing? What you paying me for? You wasting my time and your time.
What are we doing? No wonder why your wife wanted a divorce.
Yeah.
This is who you are.
Yeah.
You just wanted to talk. If you wanted to be friends, bro, you could have hit me on
just said
Facebook.
that.
Yeah. So it's just like, as a therapist, and when you're going to therapy, it's going to challenge you. It's going to push you. It's going to help you bring the other person inside of you. It's going to prevent you from running from yourself.
Yeah.
You're going to have to face you. Right. So I'm thinking about, like, when I have clients come in, I ask them, who are you right now? Are you the mom? Are you the dad? Are you this person? I said, no, I want the real you. Right. I want you with the problems. I want you that's broken. I want you that's hurt. I want that person to sit on my couch so we can talk about that person. So we can work through that person's issues. So you can become a better mom. So you can become a better dad. So you can become a husband.
Yeah.
Right. I want you to increase your capacity and increase your ability so you can increase your territory and just increase the status of your relationship.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man.
That's good, bro. And I know some people have kind of therapy trauma because they've been with therapists and they're like, I got no growth from it.
Yep.
My therapist just sat there and listened to me all day. And don't get me wrong, that is a possibility. Every therapist is different. If y'all want to know the therapist I use, reach out to me. I'll let you know.
Yep.
I have no problem with that. My therapist cannot say that he's my therapist by their rules, but I can tell you, I can open that up. So if y'all want to reach out to me, you're in the Houston area or you want to do virtual, let me know and I'll let you know who my therapist is because I highly recommend him. Rex is an amazing therapist. Get you a therapist that knows how to listen because that is their job, but you also need a therapist that is not afraid to challenge you.
Yep.
One day my therapist told me straight up, he said, I ain't gonna lie, I'm about to take the gloves off. He said, actually, I've been took the gloves off, but like today, I'm gonna go a little bit like even more. And I'm like, okay. And then he did. And I responded a certain type of way, right? I wasn't mad at him, but he saw me being very defensive. Had never been defensive before over like 8 months because he had been challenging me, but nothing had hit me that much.
Yeah.
I've been hit by a lot of stuff and cried and all types of things. And he said something to me the next session. He said, I saw you last session. I'm
Yep.
like, what you mean? He said, no, no, I saw you. All the things that you told me that you struggled with and all that, it didn't never presented itself
Yep.
towards me.
Yep.
I saw you
Yep.
last session. I just want you to know that. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, I'm glad you saw me.
Yep.
Now we can move forward and we can learn better and all this stuff. So, you want a therapist that's going to challenge you. I come into therapy, I got an appointment in 1 hour. I
Yep.
come into therapy ready to learn, ready to grow, ready to be challenged. Ask yourself, are you doing the same thing? Because if you just coming in there and you know you're not going to make a real change, save yourself the money, save them the time.
Yep.
My therapist has said, if we're not getting no growth, if I feel like we're talking about the same things, I will tell you that we need to stop meeting.
Yep.
Straight up. We're either going to dive deeper to figure out something new. And if we can't come up with nothing, what are we doing this for?
Yep.
Well, Rex, let them know where they can find you.
Man, it's your boy Rex Howard Jr., the relationship and sex therapist, personal development coach, podcaster, entrepreneur, fisher of men. You can find me on all platforms at I am Rex Howard Jr. You can find me at the Let's Talk Like Men podcast. We're posting videos every single day. But
So,
if you want help, you want to work, or whether that's individually or in a relationship, you can go to resolvecc.com, hit booking session with me, and I got you.
absolutely, man. I'm telling y'all want that growth? Here's the guy for you. Reach out to him and get that because you need therapy, man. If you are looking for somebody to come in, you run an organization, you are a teacher, a principal, an administrator, superintendent, CEO, manager, doesn't matter. And you need somebody to come into your organization, come into to your employees or your students and empower their mindsets and create an actual cultural shift that's going to last them far beyond the 30 minutes that I'm talking. I want you to reach out to me. I'm Miles the Millennial, motivational speaker and best-selling author. Go to milesthemillennial.com. That's with a Y, Miles with the Y. And I want you to submit a booking form so we can have a free consultation call. See your needs and realize and find a way that we are going to be able to make a tangible change for you, your organization, that's going to last and produce results long after the engagement is done. Thank
Yep.
you guys so much, man. And fellas, don't run from it no more. You need therapy. It's 2025, bro. I
Yep.
promise you, if you could figure out your problems on your own, your relationship, your wife wouldn't be complaining about the things she constantly complaining about.
Yep.
Your kids wouldn't be shutting down on you and not able to understand you after all these years. Your job would stop bothering you. Like, if you were able to figure it out on your own, life would look a lot different from you.
Yep.
You wouldn't be sitting there trying to figure out why you still dealing with some of the same things that you've been dealing with for 10, 15, 20, 50 years. Go get help. It is okay. We get it, and it's changed our lives. We will catch y'all next week. Peace.